Welcome to the A2theK Wrestling Show. Today we are joined by the genius himself, the wonderful leaping Lanny Poffo. Lanny, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
The pleasure is mine. When you say A2theK, is that any reference on the speech impediment of the Iron Sheik?
I mean, maybe subtly, but also just the initials. But yeah, we'll go with it. Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah, I like it. Good reference.
Everything A to the Z.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think obviously to jump into things, obviously, in your early career, you spent a lot of time in the NWA, in Memphis and other kind of territories. But eventually you ended up joining, your father's International Championship Wrestling promotion, where obviously you were a 3-time world champion. I guess we just want to know what it was like working for your dad during that time.
Well, truthfully, I was only working for myself, 1/3, Randy 1/3, my dad 1/3. Okay, so 33 and a 1/3%. I was a silent partner, as silent as I could be. And the truth is, I never wanted to be investing in an opposition. I was happy just being on the road, changing territories, having fun, very little work, just in the ring. Didn't have to worry about selling tickets or, but what my job was, I was nowhere near the book, of course, with my dad and my brother fought it out about that. And then I was in charge of the picture table. There was a magazine called Rolling Stone, and there was an advertisement for lithographs where you could get 1,000 lithographs, black and white, that looked like black and white photos, but they had dots. This is back in the 1979, so quality was maybe a little worse, but it was pretty good. And so it came to 6 cents a picture. So I figured out in my genius brain, $1, 94% profit, and not too bad. And then my tag team partner, George Weingroff, had a great suggestion that if a wrestler leaves the territory or he's not a good seller, we have little grab bags. We put about 10 pictures in the bag and sell that for $1. That way we get rid of all our remainders and get the $1. And just to keep it interesting, we put every once in a while a picture of the Macho Man or somebody else they liked, just so there would be some incentive for a fan to keep buying a bag full of crap.
Brilliant.
Nice. I like it.
So how was it like working for my dad? The truth is, I never wanted to, but I did it anyway. Is that okay? I was the youngest in the family, and he used to say, lead, follow, or get out of the way. I said, well, I'd love to get out of the way, but I guess I'll follow.
No, I get that. So obviously looking at the ICW days, what I'd like to ask if I could is when it comes to working both in a team with and against your brother Randy, if you could sort of talk about some of the differences and sort of, did you prefer being sort of working against or working in a team with him when it comes to the wrestling side?
Working against him was better because he had a knack for bringing out my best, where a stranger doesn't have that knack at all.
Yeah.
So
course, yeah.
I used to listen to Randy in the ring, and always was good for me. He always made his opponent look good, but he knew what I could do and when, and he was a perfectionist. And he wasn't shy about if I did something wrong, he'd let me know. But he did it with such a good personality that I didn't mind.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Nice. Interesting about the whole perfectionist thing. Obviously, we saw a lot of stuff around, the Ricky Steamboat match and stuff like that. So was he the same with you even back then? Obviously, before that,
he was never satisfied with any costume. His physique, he was never satisfied. He wasn't even satisfied with the Ricky Steamboat match, and he was never satisfied with any match or any outfit or any physique or any interview. And I was thinking, That's what made him the greatest of all time. But it also made him a little bit unhappy. And because what I do, see, what I believe, now nobody ever claimed that I was the greatest wrestler that ever walked down the aisle. Woo! You know, but my theory was do your best, forget the rest. And that way you don't stress and it's going to be fine. And you know, it's, nobody gets hurt. You do your best, give the fans the best you can do. But if it doesn't work out, you know, that's all you can do, right?
Of course, yeah.
Definitely. No, like honestly, really interesting perspective. So obviously after the ICW days, you made your way to WWF at the time as Leaping Lanny Poffo. You'd bring the Frisbees to the ring with the poems on them. Whose idea was that? How did that kind of come about?
I stole the idea from a guy named Al Costello.
Oh, okay.
Do you know who that is?
No,
I'm not sure. No, I've not heard of them.
There was a tag team. You guys are very young. I hate you. Okay. And there was a tag team called the Fabulous Kangaroos. And they came to work for the WWF with Vince McMahon Sr. And the manager was Wild Red Berry. And they're from Australia, legitimately too. And they brought boomerangs into the ring, actually carved by Aborigines. Now, they can't throw those to the audience because you're going to kill somebody. But Al Costello went to the printing shop and had cardboard or, I don't know, stock paper boomerangs printed with pictures of Roy Heffernan, Al Costello, and information about them. And Randy and I were just children, and Al Costello just threw those to the audience. And we would scamper for them. And I remember one time I actually got one, and Randy plowed into me and took it from me. You know, but I was just thinking, what a great gimmick, you know, to spark joy in the audience. And they were villains. So can you imagine me as a babyface?
Awesome.
So what I did was I had little scrolls with poetry, and I threw those to the audience. Well, guess what? It didn't get past the guardrail because they're not aerodynamic.
Yep.
So I said, well, I've got to throw something to the people, but what could I throw? I can't throw boomerangs because I don't have an Australian gimmick. And I said, Frisbees, I've got it. And I got all excited. And I went to the printing place and I wrote a generic poem, put that on the, that they would blend in. And then 500 Frisbees I ordered. And then right when we get down to the bottom of the 500, I was about to reorder, and it was getting over. Then somebody came up to me from WWF, WWE, and said, would you mind if we marketed these? And I said, would I mind? I insist. So they would sell them for $3 a piece. I would get a nickel a Frisbee, but win, lose, or draw, I would go to the venues, and I would be nice to people, sign the autograph, and if they couldn't afford a Frisbee, no problem. I would sign anything they had, signed a lot of arms, signed a lot of pregnant women's, bellies.
Brilliant.
I think I signed a few breasts, but only if they asked me for it. It had to be consensual.
Of course.
Of course.
And then when I did Leaping, I dotted the I with the nipple.
Love
Now
it.
let's keep this show classy.
Of course. So one thing I'm intrigued by is obviously you quite famously had a stint of wearing full knight armor for a number of the bunkhouse battle royal matches. So I'm sort of super intrigued, firstly, of sort of how that idea came about and sort of how difficult it was to work with that. It seems like it might be quite restrictive, really. So just sort of intrigued by that, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, I appreciate the question. That proves to me that you did your homework. And so I must admit, this was not an actual suit of armor, but this was theatrical armor, the kind that you would buy from a place called, well, if you're going to London's West End or Broadway, there's a place called Ruby's in Queens, New York. And This was theatrical armor, very light, looked good, but no way was it armor. Okay, so I don't know. I had an idea that I would wear a suit of armor into the ring and then take it off and wrestle. And I tried it in Memphis. And as usual, I made a fantastic first impression. The people went nuts. But then they run wrestling every week, every Monday in Memphis, every Tuesday in Louisville, every Wednesday in Evansville, Indiana. And then they have spot shows. And to be perfectly honest with you, the second time you saw the armor, it meant a hell of a lot less to you. Okay, and it's like it got a big pop, and then it went wah wah wah. So that's the way that worked. So then I wore the armor on TNT with Vince McMahon, and I did a poetry, and he says, "Lanny, that was great. From now on, you do a poem before every match." So I acted a little blasé about it, but inside my 12-year-old boy said, "Yes." Because there's nothing worse than a wrestler without a gimmick, especially when, leaping Lanny. But once you've seen a couple of my matches, there aren't going to be any new flips. Okay, there's going to be the old flips. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't like Owen Hart where he had a vast arsenal of flips. I just had my own flips, which were like numbered in 6. Okay, so then Howard Finkel gets an idea, the late Howard Finkel, fantastic guy. And now, led down the aisle by his manager, Elizabeth. Boom, 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 boom. And I'll tell you, Howard helped get Randy over as well as anybody. So anyway, they're going to have a bunkhouse battle royal, and Howard Finkel says, "We want you to wear the suit of armor. Can you wrestle in it?" And I thought to myself, yeah, I wrestled in it. But by the time it was over, all those battle royals, I took the armor and threw it away because it was ruined. Okay?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What did I tell you before? It wasn't real armor.
Yeah.
Yes. So now that you have that in your mind, you know that it's not that easy to wrestle in. And if somebody bangs your head, it's going to hurt a little bit, and it's going to go. So finally, I took the helmet off, and I remembered who potatoed me, and I went whacking them in the head. I said, "That's for hitting me in the head with the, So you live and learn."
Yeah, definitely. So I think, I mentioned it briefly before as well. It's well documented on the show that one of my favorites of all time is obviously the late, great Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig. And obviously you were synonymous with him as the genius, and obviously a huge part of my childhood growing up as well. So I guess I just wanted to know, what were some of your fondest memories of your time working with Curt?
Well, the whole thing was a fond memory. Okay. And I remember when they first put us together, Howard Finkel called me on the phone, and he said, "Lanny, we're going to do 6 vignettes with Mr. Perfect, and he's going to be doing horseshoes, ping pong, high diving at the diving board. Let's see, what else did he do?
Is it the football one? The captain football?
Well, I wasn't his partner then.
I suppose that was one of the early ones. Was it the bowling, maybe?
No, that was an early one. He did golf, and I can't remember the rest. But I was married at the time, and I told my wife, I said, "I've got an idea." I said, "I've got to leave tomorrow, but I want you to keep my daughter hushed up. I'll go in the bedroom, and if this doesn't work, I'm going to go to the library, because I got to have quiet." I said, "I may be in there for 2 or 3 hours. Keep my daughter quiet." She said, "Okay." And do you know what alliteration is? It's Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, how many pecks of pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? But I always thought, if they did it alliteration, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. What's the word "of" doing in there? It doesn't start with a P. So it's going to be alliteration, or is it? I'm getting mad. Okay. So this is my chance. So I told my wife it might be in there a few hours. So give me some privacy. So 5 minutes later, I come out and I said, I've got it. And good thing I'm a real genius. I said, personal perfection plus prolific ping pong paddles positively panics people's pointless pride. It's just one of many things that poor Hulk Hogan cannot do. And that just makes the genius feel good inside. And then I still have people come up to me. The best thing they liked about that vignette was Perfect was beating that guy in ping pong. And I was the referee. And I said, Perfect 1, you, nothing. Perfect 3, you, nothing. And I said it with such disdain, like, anyway. Yeah. Then the other one that was pretty good, from the diving board of life, we see the form of Mr. Perfect, looking absolutely confident and cool. The genius wants to see Hulk Hogan duplicate these dives. But first, I'll drain the water from the pool. So it's very cartoony and campy, but I liked it,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I loved all those things, growing up and seeing it. Yeah, it was so good. Obviously, you working with Curt. Yeah, definitely.
He was a fun guy too. Just so tragic the way he died. But
yeah,
definitely.
Acute cocaine overdose. The reason I mention it, if anybody out there is thinking of taking cocaine, just remember you're on a high wire without a net.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking at the while we're talking about the sort of these vignettes and the sort of gimmick of perfection, it must have been sort of a hard one to sort of execute at times. So, are there any particular sort of ideas that maybe didn't land, or any ones that sort of there was a lot of mistakes happening or went a bit wrong when they were trying to sort of execute them? Or sort of
Ask that again. You mean, did I do anything as the genius that should have got over but did not?
Well, sort of just like if there's any sort of any sort of amusing stories that sort of like that maybe didn't land in execution, yeah. With because I say it's sort of a difficult gimmick to put across at times, isn't it?
Yeah, it was difficult, but I'll tell you what, it was fun for me. I loved it, and okay, to answer your question, when I knew that they were done with me, you can always tell the handwriting on the wall. Okay.
Right.
And I thought to myself, maybe I should go to England, go to Stratford upon Avon, and do a couple of vignettes about William Shakespeare. I went to Stratford upon Avon, and I paid for a crew to come with me, and to make it first class. Mm-hmm. And I went, William Shakespeare is buried here, and here's his famous shrine. I truly feel his greatest work was not as good as mine. He hid behind his these and thous, relying on his. I've read his verses A through Z, and some are pretty lame. Not only is my poetry more stunning to behold, but Shakespeare is very, very dead, and I'm not even old. A lot of you have never seen the genius misbehave. Now watch as I show no respect for William Shakespeare's grave. And then, so then that was one vignette, and then I did another, and then another. And then if you want to see them, go on geniuslannypoffo.com. Right on the first page is my speech for inducting my brother into the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. And then if you go into it, you see videos, you'll see Genius versus Shakespeare, and you can see all three. And I showed it, I was in Ottawa, Canada. I took all the film, we edited it down. I told the girl what to do. And this whole thing cost me some money, but I was trying to salvage the ruins of my career, that they were done with the genius. And so I played it for Vince, and he gives me that look and he says, very entertaining, and he walks off. and which means very entertaining, a verb and a pronoun. Can you guess?
Yeah. not so entertaining.
You're not going to say it? I definitely won't. You know, Anyway, that's one. And when SummerSlam, we were at Wembley. You guys old enough to know that? Young enough?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I get there early, and I'm thinking to myself, come on, Lanny. This is probably, I could tell that the Beverly Brothers were going nowhere. Matter of fact, Vince was very upset with them because, they got American Airlines and to fly about 200 people in and got a good discount. And then these guys go ahead and take their American Airlines tickets and cash them in, and then take Northwest Airlines and bring their wives in. And Vince got mad and says, if you wanted to bring your wives in, just tell me. Don't do that. He says, you made me look like an ass in front of American Airlines, because they had a deal.
Mm.
And so I knew we were going nowhere. And I thought to myself, come on, Lanny, this is the final big show of your life. You could come up with a better poem than what you got. And all Vince wanted is brevity, and which means he likes shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm going to go upstairs and see if I can meet somebody that can tell me. We didn't have Google back then. I wanted to know what's so great about Wembley. And I didn't know what was great about it. I just knew it looked great, and it looked old, had to be historic and phenomenal. What did they tear it down already?
Oh yeah, they teared it down, built it back up again, so it's now like a big stadium. So it doesn't have the history that it used to have.
Yeah, it's not quite the same, no.
So anyway, I didn't meet anybody, but I saw this plaque, and I read the plaque, and I copied down all the information from the plaque, and then I said, no, I got to make this brief and make it tie in for the fact that the Beverly Brothers are going to be wrestling against Tugboat and Typhoon.
Natural disasters.
The natural disasters.
Mm-hmm.
So I go from the home of the Olympic Games of 1948 to the World Cup of 1966. I know the date. Now it's SummerSlam at Wembley, and the genius holds the key. Behold, the future champions, the brothers Beverly. So I thought that was like the best poem I've ever written, with the economy of words and the rhythm and the meter and the rhyme. And yet you take it and turn around and make it for the brothers Beverly. They're going to be the next world champions, which of course they were not.
Yeah. Yeah, didn't really pan out for the Beverly Brothers.
Well, no, but it's entertainment. So, that was my 10 seconds, of whatever I could do. And I was proud of it, best I could.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think as well, just briefly before you went on to manage the Beverly Brothers, you obviously, again, in the program you had with Kurt, you managed to beat, obviously, Hulk Hogan via count out, of course. But I think, he was undefeated for 2 years or almost 2 years at this point. Can you describe that time? I kind of saw you run a lot of talk shows and stuff like that around the whole kind of program that Kurt had with Hulk. So what was it like being in the super main event scene at that point?
Well, my wrestling career lasted 21 years. I spent 8 years with WWE, WWF, whatever you want to call it. And I have to say that those 4 months of being in a main event were the greatest 4 months of my career. Naturally, the birth of my daughter and my 2 grandsons were also pretty great. But if you're just talking about the career, yes, and that's the reason Randy wanted me to write a song for Be a Man Hulk on his rap album. And I said, I can't do it. He says, can't or won't? I said, both. I said, Hulk Hogan took me off the scrap heap and gave me the chance to wrestle him on Saturday night's main event. And then he goes, and I didn't expect, the finish to be like that, and it was his idea. And I'm thinking to myself, and then I would turn around and use my talent to blaspheme him on a legitimate. I said, I can't do it. And he says, well, thank you for nothing. And I said, look, you want me to help your CD? I said, I'll write a nice, beautiful tribute to Mr. Perfect called The Perfect Friend.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I wrote it. And then by the time I heard it on the CD, he had tweaked it to the point of I couldn't remember it was mine. You know what I mean? Because it was all different now. But that's the way Randy was. He tweaked things,
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, obviously we've had that you work with Kurt and managing the Beverly Brothers, and whilst it may have been a company decision from a managerial role, because it's something that you fit into so naturally, being sort of having the way with words that you do, but sort of, did you prefer being in that sort of managerial role and doing that sort of work more than the in-ring work, or was this just sort of how it naturally evolved?
Well, I was so happy to be on the main events, I didn't really care. But I, at the time, felt like I still belonged in the ring. And if they hired the genius now, of course, I would only be suitable as a manager as far from the ring as I could be. Because in December the 28th, I'm going to be 67. And thank you for saying I don't look it.
Yeah. There was definitely a head shake. Yeah, you don't. It's crazy. Yeah, so next one from us. So obviously, after you left the WWF, you went on to sign with WCW on a multi-year deal. So there was a lot of rumors at the time Randy had acquired the rights to the Gorgeous George gimmick. And the rumor was that you were going to come in and work a program with him, but obviously you were with the company from like 95 to like 99, but you would never really make a true on-screen appearance. What kind of happened?
Well, people ask me that question quite a bit, and thank you for bringing it up. And I'll just give you the truth. First of all, Randy told me he's got a great idea for me. He wants to make me Gorgeous George. Wants me to bleach my hair, put extensions in it, and this and that. And I said, oh. I said yes, but can I tell you that the Gorgeous George gimmick has been done to death. Okay, and the first thing I did, they bleached my hair, and it hurt my scalp. It burned it, and I didn't do it myself. It was professionally done. But a professional can really ruin your hair too, and my hair is turning gray now. I don't know if you can tell, but back then it was like all dark brown with just a couple of grays. I don't mean to, is it okay if I'm a little vulgar?
By all means.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Now that I'm going to be 67, I noticed that even my pubic hair has got a few gray hair in there. And I was very upset to discover this. And looking back, so were the people on the elevator, or the lift, as you say in England. Isn't that funny?
Brilliant. Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
You call it the lift, right?
We do. Well, elevator works. Mainly
a lift.
Our common slang.
See, that's the joke. That's the joke. I said I was a little upset to see the gray hair, and so were the people on the elevator. It's like that'd be a very bad place to examine yourself for gray. So I like to keep it light. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
In memory of Curt Hennig, who always turned it into a joke.
Yeah.
So let me see. What was the question? I forgot.
So it was obviously just around, obviously, what happened with your time in WCW? You were going to come in as Gorgeous George, but
so I bleached my hair,
Mhm.
and I didn't look like Gorgeous George. I looked like the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. So, and then I was working out, sunbed. Randy would check my physique. I was also taking human growth hormone, which really works.
Yep.
Except when you stop taking it. Wah, wah, wah. So anyway, I was conscientiously trying to make. Randy said, the phone's gonna ring real soon. You better be ready. And I said, okay, I get ready. I'm getting myself, boy, I'm sunbed, and I live in Florida, so Mr. Sun too, the real sun. And I had a good tan. I can't say I had a hell of a physique. I never did have one, but for me, it was pretty good. And then the phone never rang, but the money came in, and I spent none of it. And I have to say that because of that and the wise investments, people ask me, "Are you really a genius?" No, but I'm the real Ted DiBiase.
Yes.
Love it.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
See, if you have a hole in your bucket, it doesn't make any difference if you make the money of Ric Flair. It's going to go, whoo! You're going to be a kiss-stealing, wheeling, dealing, a son of a gun. And at the end of it, with a hole in the bucket, he's got nothing.
Mhm.
And me, I just got an eyedropper, blink, 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 but I got a good bucket. And at the end of the day, I got more water in my bucket than anybody. So slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah. I think that's
like
a brilliant analogy as well, to be fair.
Mhm. Definitely.
So the next thing I want to ask, and
excuse me, let me interrupt you.
Yeah, by all means.
Interrupt you. To go, because we're going to change subjects and I'm going to forget.
No, that's fair.
Before Randy got me the deal, he had also gone to Slim Jim and got a deal for WCW to get $750,000 per year for the WCW. And guess what? Guess what WWE did? They tried to keep the Slim Jim contract, and guess who they chose to compete with Randy?
What?
Who was that? Yeah, I don't know.
Bam Bam Bigelow. Now, before you start laughing your ass off, do an imitation of Randy, and then do an imitation of Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah.
If you do an imitation of Randy, you can, because he was unique, one of a kind, special.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Bam Bam was just another screaming fat guy, sack of manure. That you've seen a million of those guys.
Yeah.
Slim Jim. So Randy goes, ooh, Slim Jim, yeah. Now who's gonna win?
No competition.
Never gonna compete. Yeah.
Thank you. Otherwise, I was going to hang up on you. Very good.
No, well, you're 100% right. There's no comparing. It's such a unique character and a unique person, Randy. There's never.
I remember I was Bam Bam's bitch for about 3 weeks, and he didn't wash his tights, and then he got me in a leg scissors, and there I am, wondering if I had made a bad career decision by getting into professional wrestling, and it smelled like a combination of ammonia and cat piss.
Oh, not good.
Yeah,
it was a bad combination. It was a heady mixture, and he had me in a leg. And I said, he had me in the leg scissors, and I said, "There's got to be more in a life than laying in a leg scissors." From Bam Bam Bigelow.
Literally, damn Bigelow. Yeah, not good. Not good.
Oh man. See, wrestling is not all glamorous.
That's it. It's the insights in the biz that we just don't get to know. It's
no.
Well, just put yourself in my shoes.
Oh yeah.
Not good.
And I remember he came into the locker room, and he was late, and he was bragging that he just got orally pleased from a girl that was a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And he said, "I just got a BJ from an arena rat," is what he said. Except he didn't say BJ. So right in front of about 15 wrestlers, and nobody really liked him. I said, I hope you kept the receipt. And everybody laughed. He said, what do you mean, Poffo? I said, you are a very ugly man. And if somebody gave you a blowjob, I imagine that you would have had to pay him.
How did they make it through the ammonia and Capis stench?
What's that now?
Right. I said, how did they make it through the ammonia and Capis stench? You know.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. See, this was after we stopped wrestling. Now he was on main events, and it was going to his head. And then I remember he used to stay at the Acme Ritz, Central Arms, Waldorf, Plaza, Ritz, Carlton, whatever the hell it was. And then, like, he moved to Florida, and he would always be in the newspaper. They were trying to get him for non-payment of child support. See what I mean? In other words, he treated himself real good, but he didn't even support his kids. So,
definitely had a big hole in the bucket.
He had a hole in his bucket.
Yeah.
Yes. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. But anyway, we don't speak ill of the dead, so let's just say he was that kind of guy. Let's put it this way. If I enjoyed working with Hulk Hogan, I least enjoyed working with Bam Bam. That was the top and the bottom for me as a heel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good to know. That's good to know.
So, the next one, and it's something you've probably, I know you've gone through a few times, so apologies, but I'd just like to ask about, obviously, the 2015 Hall of Fame inducting, obviously, your brother, the Macho Man Randy Savage, and just if we can sort of discuss any sort of fond memories that people may not already know about your relationship with your brother, and if it's okay, like how it came about in terms of the sort of the induction into the Hall of Fame as well.
Well, what I can tell you is Randy didn't want to be in the Hall of Fame unless they put in my father, myself, and him as the Poffo family. And what gave him the idea was the Von Erich family.
Yeah.
Where Randy thought Fritz deserved it. Kerry certainly deserved it. Kevin deserved it. David deserved it. But Chris and Michael did not deserve to be in there. The only thing famous about them was their last name, not their first name.
Yeah.
So we were, it was my father's birthday, and he died 11 months later. And Randy says, we got to do a party for Dad at the Olive Garden, his favorite restaurant. And I said, oh, don't bring Dad to a restaurant. He's pathetic. He can't really be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was, so I just lost my 1 millionth argument in a row to Randy. Oh, we got to do this for Dad. I said, okay, but he won't enjoy it. He won't be happy. You know, he's miserable. You know, he doesn't like to leave the house. So, and so we bring him in, and he's miserable. And he can't talk. He can't do nothing. You know, he's just tired and wants to go home.
Yeah.
So Randy says, can you believe they're putting in the Von Erich family into the Hall of Fame? What a joke. He says, give it to Fritz. Give it to Kerry. Give it to David. Give it to Kevin. But Jesus Christ, when you're going to put in, you know, Chris and Michael, holy shit. That's like Lou Thesz isn't even in the Hall of Fame. And they're putting this guy in? Oh my God, this is ridiculous. So then he says, if I ever go in the Hall of Fame, it'll be as the Poffo family. If the Von Erichs can do it, he said, Lanny, you suck. And at least you're better than Chris. I said, thank you. Well,
such a way with words.
Well, the thing is, that's how he showed his love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at least I knew how to take a joke. Otherwise, they would have found me hanging in my room with a note, you know. But anyway, so after Randy died, John Laurinaitis calls me. It says, Lanny, how do you feel about Randy going into the Hall of Fame? And I said, Randy wanted to go in the Hall of Fame as a member of the Poffo family, Angelo, Randy, and Lanny. And I said, these were his wishes, and that's what I'm telling you. He says, okay, thank you very much. And, you know, I didn't hear back from anybody. And then something happened to me. I turned 59. Now, I know 60 is the magic number, but for me, it was 59 because that was the day that I was older than Randy. Randy died at 58 and a half, and I had never accomplished anything in my life that wasn't eclipsed or dwarfed by the Macho Man. But outliving him was one thing, and it's a very important thing. So I said, what am I going to do about it? I said, Randy used to make all the unpopular decisions for the family because he was the oldest.
Yeah.
And I said, it's my turn. And I said, from Star Trek, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. So I said, I went home and I took care of my mom for 6 years after my brother died. I went home and I said, Mom, I got to put Randy in the Hall of Fame. She said, well, that wasn't his wishes. I said, do you know how many times I got my wishes? Never. I said, I am making the unpopular decisions for the family now. He said, but he wanted to go in the three of us. And I said, but they're not going to do it. You know, so then I get a call from Mark Carano, and he just got fired for, didn't he post something ridiculous?
Yeah, we saw that. I think he basically sent some of the released talent, their stuff in a bin bag or like a trash bag, and that was kind of the end of him.
So did he ever come back to the WWE or what?
So he was there, he came back, but now I think he's gone again. Yeah.
That was a rude thing to do. You know, put a garbage bag, you know.
Yeah.
Boy, tell me how you really feel. So anyway, I mean, it's sad enough when you get your, you know, you're told your services are no longer required. So anyway, I get a call from Mark Carano, and he asked me if I would be in Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, because they're starting a WWE network, and they want to interview me because they think I can talk on the microphone pretty good, I guess. So I said, okay, but I want to tell you something. I want Randy inducted into the Hall of Fame by himself. Oh, I'll get back with you. Okay, thank you. I'll call you right back. So 30 minutes goes by, and he says, Lanny, we can't do it in New Orleans because we only do one posthumous inductee into the Hall of Fame per year. And this year, it's going to be Paul Bearer. But if you can kayfabe, which means shut up, till next year in San Jose, California, and we want to be the ones to announce it, so don't put it anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I told my mom, but she doesn't have a Twitter account.
Yeah.
So then that's how the very next year, 2015, I inducted Randy into the Hall of Fame. Now, Randy's hero was Pete Rose, and he's a baseball player that is not in the Hall of Fame. And he claims that Pete Rose is more famous for not being in the Hall of Fame, was something he is obviously overqualified for. You know, then, so Randy thought it would be better not to be in the Hall of Fame. But in my opinion, who's more important, the Macho Man or the Macho fans?
No, definitely. I think to your point, yeah, it was definitely one for the many as opposed to the few.
Yes. So, and you know what was really sad is Bruno Sammartino, he gets in the Hall of Fame, but all of his fans are dead.
Yeah.
He should have gone in when his fans were alive.
Yeah, it's not the same.
You know, he's 100 years old and he gets out there, and I'll tell you, Bruno, you know. And, you know, it was a good speech and everything, but these fans don't even know who the hell he is. you know.
Yeah.
So, but wouldn't it be, you know what? People said I did good speech, but you know what would have been a better speech? If Randy would have got out there with his silver hair and did one last, ooh, yeah. Now that would have been great.
No, definitely. Yeah.
Like I say, I did my best, but the best was not, I mean, it was shame on them for not doing it earlier.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? I think, you know, fair play to you. Obviously, Randy wanted the whole Poffo family in. You know, to your point, that wasn't going to happen, and you know, you've made that tough decision. And the fact is, he's in. He deserves it. And you know, I liked your speech. I thought it was fantastic. So don't be too hard.
Thank you. And if you go on WWE.com, it's on the front page, and you click on it, and there it is. And I treated it like a eulogy. You know, like it's something, you know, you know, even though he had died in 2011, like 4 years before, it's still a eulogy for me.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. No, of course. So we just have a couple more questions. Obviously, really grateful for the amount of time you've given us so far. But I just wanted to ask you, obviously, you were present at All In. Obviously, you know, that was a monumentous moment in the wrestling world. Did you think, you know, when you were there, that would be the catalyst for a whole new promotion that would potentially take the wrestling world by storm?
I was very impressed with the promoter, and I was impressed with all the people backstage, very nice people and great talent there. I, in the back of my mind, was hoping somebody would offer me a job, but since they didn't, I've decided to go to Ecuador and live the rest of my life in absolute comfort. And it's the land of eternal springtime in Quito, Ecuador. We're right on the equator, but we're 9,000 feet altitude. And it's 50 degrees low, 70 degrees high, 12 months a year. I know you guys are Celsius, so let me figure it out quickly. It's 10 degrees Celsius to 21 degrees Celsius, the land of eternal springtime. How do you like that for being a genius?
That is good.
Yeah,
and you
perfect.
know, some great weather as well. You know, considering we're just used to rain and like, you know, 2 degrees on the regular, really. So
yeah, it's you guys have a little bit of, you know, I believe the UK is a beautiful place. Oh, and I was in Scotland in Dundee, and the promoter calls me up and says, "Is everything all right?" And I said, "Yeah, there's one thing I demand." I said, "I want to sing the Scottish national anthem." Now, that is "God Save the Queen," but that's not what they sing at the football game.
No.
Because I got bad news for you. They hate you.
Oh,
They want out.
Fiercely independence. They've made that very clear.
Yeah.
Yes, I was in the middle of a big protest. Like we went out, you know. So anyway, I go out there and I said, "O flower of Scotland, when will we see your like again? Who fought and died for your wee bit hill and glen and stood against him? Against who? Proud Edward's army, wanker, and sent him homeward. They think again. Those days are past now, and in the past they must remain. But we can still rise now and be that nation again that stood against him. Against who? Proud Edward's army, wanker, and sent him homeward. They think again." So
did they just erupt?
and then I went, "Oh, you take the high road and I take the low." And then they say, "Please stop." Wow. Okay, that's enough.
Brilliant.
Oh, I had a good time there though. And I ate blood pudding and haggis.
What do you think?
Well, then I put my head in the loo and I called for Earl. Earl. No, I'm kidding. But, you know,
I'm curious. Did you know what haggis was before you tried it? Because a lot of people believe don't look at what it is. Try it.
Tell
first.
me what it was.
Yeah.
Tell me what it was.
It's a few different ingredients, but it's obviously it's sheep's bladder with oats and various different meats that you wouldn't typically wouldn't traditionally eat. And I say it arguably tastes nicer than the description. So
well, if I was going to eat a sheep's bladder, all I can say was at least they didn't pull the wool over my eyes.
Hey.
Oh, sorry.
Fair points.
Love
it. Anyway, I'm sorry, but my favorite joke. Oh my God, what was Lord Alfred Hayes told me a joke, and he says, "Never mind, I can't say it."
No, do it.
Okay, there was this Polak and an Englishman, and they would go to the clubs, and the Englishman got all the girls, and the Polak has not gotten a girl yet. So the Polak says to the Englishman, "Teach me what you know. I mean, you get all the girls, I get nothing. What is the deal?" He said, "Just go up and say, tickle your ass with a feather." Or what if she doesn't like it? Then you just cover up and say, "Particularly nasty weather." Oh. So he doesn't think he can do it, so he's practicing. Tickle your ass with a feather, particularly nasty weather. So he's drinking that liquid courage, and he's getting, so it's getting to be closing time. He had his eye on this girl. He goes up and he's very nervous and he says, "Shove a feather up your ass?" She says, "What?" And he said, "Colder than fuck out, ain't it?" So obviously he didn't get the picture,
Yeah. Not quite the same.
And when you drink a little bit, you get courageous. When you drink a little too much, you just get stupid.
Oh, it's a delicate balance. Yeah. we use that method quite regularly on the show, to be honest.
We do.
So obviously, while we're talking about All In and about sort of the current product, as it were, just out of curiosity, is it something you still sort of keep an eye on? Do you watch the current WWE product or AEW as it is now?
No, I don't. But I'll tell you what, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Dustin Rhodes, and Chris Jericho, and all these guys, and much more than that. They are fantastic. They are great, and they are young and hungry.
Yeah.
And I think the fans should go to see them and support different organizations. Go to WWE, but also go to AEW.
Oh yeah.
And I like to see all the guys make money. I don't. What I'm saying is more than one person can sit at the table of life.
Oh yeah.
And I think that it's great for the young guys to have a couple of choices and places to go.
Definitely.
It's
something like we've because obviously if you look on social media a fair bit, you see so many people want to be in one camp or the other, and for some reason, as a fan, a lot of people believe that they can't enjoy both. But both Carl and I have always agreed, like, competition's a good thing between the two.
Competition is the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I felt that, not in the ring anymore, but as an announcer or color man or something, they could have given me a job. But since they didn't, I have no animosity. I've been, when I think about things like that, when I'm living in Ecuador and I have a lot of time on my hands, I think how lucky I am, because, Magnum TA would have been one of the greatest wrestlers you ever heard of. But unfortunately, he broke his neck in a driving car crash. Now that is terrible and unfortunate, and I love that guy.
Yeah,
he's a great guy, and wouldn't you agree that if he hadn't had that bad luck, he could have been even better?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
So I'm not going to be crying in my beer over my life. Naturally, if the phone rang, I would pick it up.
Yeah,
and but let's face it, I'm going to be 67, and I'm very happy with my inactivity.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think as well, obviously, we've seen you quite recently on a lot of other documentaries as well. So you were on, obviously, Dark Side of the Ring. You were on A&E's biography series, obviously, about Randy. How was that, filming those documentaries? Was there, any one, or, were they different in any way? Like, how was the whole experience?
Did you see the other one, the Autopsy of Randy Savage?
I haven't seen that yet. No, has that just come out?
Yeah, it's on. What's the number one station in England? I can't even think of it now. If you can't think of it, I won't bother messing with it. But
I mean, I don't know what they consider number one. I mean, BBC's probably the.
Yeah, what's the second for BBC?
ITV,
ITV,
Channel 4,
ITV.
Channel 5.
Okay,
ITV.
it was on ITV.
Right.
And they actually hired some people from Guayaquil, Ecuador, to come to Manta, Ecuador, which is where I was living at the time. And I bought a condo, and now I've moved to Quito, but I've got that condo as an Airbnb, and that pays for everything I'm doing here.
Oh,
so
nice.
Fantastic.
And and that's and I don't do any of the work. I have a hostess that gets 15% of the money, and I'm not telling tales out of school. If anybody has an Airbnb, that's what it is. Airbnb gets 6%, the hostess gets 15%, I get the rest, which is great because I don't want to do any of that work.
No,
it makes sense.
I don't have the skill or the will.
No.
So no, listen, some people are never satisfied. There was a time when I felt that I wasn't being appreciated. Did you ever see the Battle Royal before WrestleMania 3 where Andre the Giant headbutts me and I'm bloody and he throws me over the top rope?
Was it? I was going to say, was it the WrestleMania 2 Battle Royal where Andre won it, or was it one just before WrestleMania 3?
It was on NBC, and it was done to get Andre as a vicious heel. So I was the sacrificial lamb.
Right. Okay.
And everybody was please, 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 but after it was over, there was no thank you. And then when they made the card, I wasn't on it, and I didn't get a bonus. I didn't get a pay raise. I didn't get nothing. I took a razor blade and cut the supratrochlear vein in my head. And then I walked over to Andre and I said, ready, boss. Ready, boss. And he headbutts me, throws me over the top rope. And I knew that nobody'd see that because there was so much talent on the periphery. Nobody'd see me in the middle of the ring. There's too much to look at besides. So anyway, I wanted to make sure I had enough before I even went to Andre. Because if I didn't get enough, they would call my name.
Yeah.
But as soon as I said, well, that's enough. But then I took a towel on my head and I couldn't stop the bleeding. And the only ones that cared were Rick Martel, Rene Golay, Macho Man Randy Savage, and myself. Everybody else was just walking around me like they were, like I was inconveniencing them by dying in the locker room.
Wow.
Unreal.
Well, I did a little too hard.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I knew it was important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
exactly. Yeah.
Now that I think about that, I think about all those times I went out with a girl, had my way with her, and never called. Now it's happening to me. Now it's my turn. How do you like it? In other words, you give everything you've got, and then so then, one might say that nobody in the history of the wrestling business has given less and gotten more, especially thanks to my WCW contract. But don't forget that was only a fraction of the of Randy's procuring the Slim Jim contract for the WCW.
Yeah.
So in other words, it wasn't me that sunk the ship.
Oh no, definitely not.
But thank God for small favors, huh? It's never hurt me to be the brother of the Macho Man. Yeah.
Nice.
So
and by the way, I'm pissed off about A&E Network. How come they got they're talking about Randy and Elizabeth, right? Like, Randy didn't handle that right. Well, I don't give marital advice because I'm a one-time loser, married once, divorced once. Jerry Lawler's been divorced 3 times. How come he's not ashamed to give marital advice? he should.
Yeah.
They should have. He should preface everything by saying, "Of course, don't listen to me. I'm a 3-time loser." But
it's an excellent point.
That is fair, yeah.
And if you look at his Wikipedia, you'll notice the little, taking underage girls across state lines. You'll notice a little bit of violence in the home. You know what I mean? I'm not saying there was or wasn't. I'm just saying it's been accused.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. You don't see a documentary around that, do you?
Yeah. So nobody had the balls to say anything when Randy was alive. But I got bad news for you. I'm still here. And I've got a good memory, you assholes.
Yeah,
nice. I like it.
No, I think that's absolutely the right attitude, especially with these sort of things. They're just looking at what makes them money, aren't they? And it's they don't. It's media.
Let me ask you a question. You seem like an intelligent man.
Thanks.
Especially with the glasses going on and the beard. If you were Macho Man Randy Savage, would you want Elizabeth to take a shower with Brian Knobs?
No.
Ooh,
Thank
no.
you. Good answer.
Oh, no.
Good answer. Why would you want, so we got her own dressing room, but that was never locked. Nobody had the balls to check the door because, but now that he's gone, they think they have the balls to say it was locked.
Yeah.
It's easier to speculate, isn't it, sometimes, and say these things. To your point, no one ever could prove that was the case, and obviously, the word of mouth obviously ends up painting that bad picture. But
yeah. So I'm going to say, be careful, boys. Lanny remembers everything.
I like it. So, just while we're talking about the documentaries, and this might be a little bit of an odd question, but we are, obviously we let our listeners know who we are going to be speaking to, just to see if they have any particular questions. And one that kept cropping up, so I'll have to ask it as odd as a question it might be for you, is obviously there was I think it was Dark Side of the Ring where they filmed in your bed for the episode. And the question that kept coming up was like, whose idea was it to sort of film from your bed?
Well, did you notice the TV on the ceiling?
Yeah, it's like from the ceiling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, when they saw that, they said, well, we got to show that. I said, yeah, go ahead. They don't call me the genius for nothing.
It's weird. It's kind of like taking on its own thing. Like, a lot of our listeners, a lot of people obviously on like Reddit and other places have, comment on it all the time. So yeah, it's a really intriguing question. Like, who came up with the idea to kind of do that?
That was me. But if you go on, it's like, it's a ceiling mounted television. And then I wanted it perfectly. So I just could watch TV, like just open my eyes, don't have to do that or that or that.
Yeah.
So when I finally die, you'll know there's very little difference between the way I lived and the way I died.
I like it.
No, the TV, that is truly genius.
I know, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely
I
genius.
appreciate that.
Definitely genius. So I suppose lastly from us then, obviously some exciting news, especially for our local listeners and fans of the show, is that hopefully you're going to be coming to Liverpool next year for the Love of Wrestling 2 on April the 23rd to 24th. Obviously me and Anthony have got tickets already to hopefully meet you in person, and thank you again for coming on the show. But, you mentioned you've never been to Liverpool, you've been to a couple of other places. I guess, firstly, I guess I want to know, obviously, what are your thoughts on the UK fans, and, what are your thoughts on, the event itself?
Okay, I love the UK, and I'm going to hopefully, if COVID-19 or the Delta variant doesn't ruin everything, I am very interested in being on your podcast so we can get the word out, sell a lot of tickets. And I hope that everybody has fun. I am very, very nice to the fans.
Real.
Okay,
sorry, come back.
I just got a telephone call and I just declined it. So when we're done, I will call that person back.
Real. Now we'll try not to take up too much more of your time, to be fair. But that being said, while we're wrapping things up, just wondered if you'd be able to tell our listeners sort of where they can sort of go to sort of keep up to date with yourself, any social medias or anything like that.
Yes, www.geniuslannypoffo.com. That's GENIUSLANNYPOFFO.com. And on the front page is what? You listen to me. It was the speech of the Hall of Fame. Because if anybody remembers my name, it'll be because of his. And I wanted his eulogy right in the front.
Yeah.
Macho Man.
Yeah, definitely. But no, honestly, Lanny, thank you. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor.
Are you guys going to be there in Liverpool?
Oh, yeah. We've got tickets. We've got tickets. We've got tickets to come and see you. So
yeah, we're already booked to see you. Yeah.
Well, they're growing fungus now. You better do it quickly.
But no, like honestly, hopefully we will see you there. You know, we're very excited. And you know, if you decide to come on the after party, we'll make sure that you know, we show you a good time as well. But honestly, it's been absolute.
When you come up to me, I want you to say "Tickle your house with a feather," and then I'll know who it is.
You know what?
Lord,
definitely.
Lord Alfred Hayes has a message.
Yes. What a great guy he was, man. I'll tell you, I love Lord Alfred. What a guy. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, and
no, thank you.
I really appreciate it, and thank you for helping the promoters to sell the tickets. And because you know it's quite an investment, and you know, let's face it, the COVID has hurt everybody.
Oh
yeah.
We got to stick together.
Definitely,
absolutely. But yeah, thank you again so much for being on the show. And we honestly can't thank you much. So take care, and we will see you soon. Hopefully next year.
Tally ho!
Tally ho!
All right,
cheers.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye-bye.